I'm going to tell you that Kip Jones has turned into Rich Sutton, and that we'll be missing Juka Pekka Onella this afternoon. So of the 5 presenters who you see in front of you now, each of them will have 10 minutes, and then we will have a little bit of flex time for questions and answers if appropriate, or at least coming in forwards and backwards and futzing with the, oh, there's my other 2 speakers sitting there, that's fine. That's a reasonable idea. If you'd like to see what's on, it's probably better to be sitting this way. Without further ado, Skyhook. We're on.
Good.
And it should be like escape to make that go away. And what have you done? So here you are in order, and that's you. And hit the little usual.
And we can find it. View slideshow.
Left of view.
Left of.
Slideshow. Next one over. One more over.
Slideshow. To the left. To the left.
F. How about F3? Right?
This is
crowdsourcing.
Back people come to PCs. Okay,
there we go. Yeah, that is a problem. You PC people. So yeah, as disclosed, I am not Kip Jones. If you came looking for Kip, sorry to disappoint you. My name is Rich Sutton. I am the geospatial lead for Skyhook, and we are one of the primary 3 mobile location providers for mobile devices worldwide. As the geospatial director there, it gives me a lot of access to interesting tools and toys, but really the best thing, just to give a basic scope of how Skyhook fits into the landscape, the best thing is the data, really, no matter what tools or toys you're going after it with. It's an amazing fire hose of data that we get as part of this role. So we do positioning on mobile devices, on smartphones, since the very first Apple incarnation back in 2008. And that gives us a huge crowdsourcing opportunity. And what we really get down to, what the core business is maintaining a really high quality, high accuracy database of all the beacons, both cell towers and access points worldwide. So right now that's about 750 million access points and about 12 million cell beacons constantly pinging out location for us. We tie the accurate lat longs to those things, and that gives us a really good way to ping people to their proper locations. So just some visual eye candy on this. If you look at any city in the world now, any developed city, it looks like this, which is millions of these things strewn across Tokyo here as an example. So our take on the Internet of Things is all of these little beacons broadcasting, I am here. This is specifically what my ID is. This is where that ID is as determined by Skyhook, and we allow other devices that have Wi-Fi or cell to reach against that database and say, okay, knowing these things, this is a good position for you. If you then look at the flip side of that, so we have to maintain this database of where all these beacons are, but then if you then look at the people requesting, the devices requesting against that, you get a very frequently similar but often much more interesting fabric, which is everybody's location. And so anyone who, across broad classes of devices, you see someone is any of these devices in any of the familiar apps are doing location things all the time. A lot of the background operating systems are polling for location all the time too, just to fetch up the signal sets, these access point beacons and the cell tower IDs, and to position them and continually grow and heal this it's really an organic mosaic of what all of these signals are doing. and this is just a basic intensity surface, a density surface, a kernel density over Tokyo, showing where the hotspots of request are. And we return 10 million of these worldwide an hour or so. You can do great things with that in a very aggregated way. So a lot of people are, the privacy and legal implications of this very quickly get down to individual rights. A lot of what Skyhook does involves taking these things and looking at broad categories and classes of behavior. Where are if you look at these data across a 24-hour period or across the 3 to 4 p.m. slot across 20 days, where are the hot spots? Where is the activity happening? And you can really distill and filter amazing patterns out of this stuff just based on what those request densities look like. Even based on the beacon positions of the access points themselves, that's interesting on its own. But you can take the request patterns and you can find at a very coarse level, you can find cities, but you can keep dropping this down right through down the scale stack all the way to individual businesses and individual complexes that have lots of stuff going on or activity in one part of the mall. And the question becomes, you can do this, what's the proper level to go down to? There are event-based characterizations, as you would expect, that you can do all the time. So you take a parade. We have laboriously over the past couple of years built some analytical products that are based on the artifact that comes out of these location requests. And one of them has evolved through something called Spot Rank to something called Accelerate. And this allows us to look at any place on the planet really to 100-meter resolution for any hour of the week. So any 100-meter cell size sliced 168 ways. That lets you do things like looking at the picture on the right where you can say, okay, for the hour between 10 and 11 a.m., this is where the hotspots were. If you look at it on a broader sort of a granularity, you can look at it over the island of Manhattan. Similar way, this is just a parade. Sandy, once again, there are lots of different ways of looking at how the infrastructure failed and what the sample population was providing back there. Just basic vanilla visualization out of our database. A big portion of these things went black during that event, and you can see how things shut off on a very macro scale. This is kind of fascinating on a macro level because you can see these things without having to interface with all the different utilities who are providing a much more specific version of this same picture, but don't have the ability to, in one fell swoop, go and look at the entire east coast of the United States. This just highlights the southern end of Manhattan. And I mean, you look at this thing and that's again, from the legal privacy security perspective, okay, that's a pretty good picture, but what becomes much more interesting is what's left on. Like what you can dive down to this thing and you can say, okay, well, these are, if this is not Sandy, but it's a malicious event, and suddenly you just have the highlighted picture of all the things that are actually still running, that can be a susceptibility. There's a vulnerability there. That kind of visualization is fascinating, but it opens up lots of somewhat frightening possibilities. And again, the obligatory marathon, this is just a quick snapshot across a 1 hour slot of what was going on at the marathon. But these are all just a bubble map showing different, from different spots, what was the request intensity there. And you can slice and dice these things in many ways to give you a sense of context at a very small time segment. Obviously, right, so eye candy aside, all of what we do, we provide location on these devices, and that's at the greatest granularity we can provide. If you are looking to find something as mundane as the nearest Starbucks, you want the location to work. If you're indoors, GPS isn't going to work. You need to rely on a database of Wi-Fi beacons to position you, to trilaterate you. So that's the business model. That's our bread and butter. As you begin to accumulate the artifact of this, this process, you get to a point where you say, we can sell this. A lot of people are interested in seeing where people are at given times. Let's go out to market with this, and people have become very interested. And all the questions that we face really come down to these kind of binary decisions, right? There's security versus anonymity, convenience versus intrusion, or do you, the opt-in versus obligatory kind of participation in this as any device or owner of a device. It's hard even to know which one of these, the binary side is good or bad in some of these cases. Security versus anonymity, it's hard to know. But these are, they're a problem area that doesn't have any guidance from the regulatory side that's directing us, really. I mean, we have to choose by what the market wants and what we feel good and safe about doing, where we draw the lines on how much we give up, how much we put out there. And that's probably not the way it should be. It works pretty well, but it's dangerous to think of a lot of other people doing that same thing. We're confident in our own judgment, and we work with pretty small numbers of customers. But that's scary stuff. I think we all are in agreement that that machine human interface is getting more and more intimate every single day, and there are a lot of hard decisions that are going to have to be made, and Skyhook is very eager and committed to being part of that. So thank you. Any questions? I'll be happy to try to answer them.
We'll hold questions until